You're listening to the Steven Tauriello Show, building a platform of liberty for people in search of truth with a dash of hope and a life worth living. The Steven Tauriello Show. And now, here's Steven.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. As always, thank you for tuning in. So, when I drive around my community, I look around and I see my tax dollars actually going to work. The town I live in is growing like crazy. And so there's constant infrastructure that is having to be built. So roads are having to be widened. City halls are having to be built, expanded. The BMVs having to be expanded. All these things are happening because this town I'm in is growing so fast. And, you know, I don't mind paying the taxes when I see my taxes going to work. And so when I'm driving down the street and when I see the city installing new gym equipment, it's actually kind of cool. So in the community where I'm at, they mapped out a route, and on this route, they installed different types of gym equipment. So if you're jogging or if you're walking or whatever the case is, every mile there is a workout station, and each station works out a different part of the body. And so one station will have an endurance workout station, and it's all outdoor equipment. It's all built for the outdoors. It's really rugged. It's actually really nice. And each station is different. So you have a cardio workout station. You have a weightlifting station. It's not like weights in a gym where you got to take them off and put them on. They build these little workout stations, and it's all included. Like it's an all-in-one kind of universal thing. And so it's all based off of your weight. And so, like, if you're working out your legs, they made this machine, I guess you can call it. It almost looks like playground equipment, but it's for working out. But they made it to where you're lifting your own weight. And so, anyways, not to get too far off course, but that's what they're doing in my community. That's what they did. It's all new. It was put in a couple years ago. And I'm constantly seeing stuff being built with our tax dollars. And in fact, my city, whenever they're doing road work, they actually put up giant signs. And they're like warning signs, hazard signs, telling you that there's road work ahead. But on the sign, they say, your tax dollars at work, please slow down. And I find that to be really cool because people like to see their money going towards something, especially if it's something they're forced to pay into, like taxes. And in my area, in Florida, the property taxes where I'm at are insane, off the charts. And so the people like to see their money being put towards something. And it's not as bad. You know, when you're driving down the street and you're like, oh, that's a really nice workout station. I should go by and use it. Or, oh, that city hall expansion that they just added, we should go check it out. I bet it's pretty nice. Like, it makes you feel good when you see your money going towards something. Well, that's not what our government's doing anymore, folks. Our government is not using our tax dollars for us anymore. We have failing infrastructure. The country's going broke. We're essentially going bankrupt. And you have to ask yourself, where is all this tax money going? How is it that we are in a $2 trillion deficit when we're all taxed to the gills? They're running out of ways to tax us. And so they're starting to come up with clever ways of taxing us twice or 3 times. And so they're trying to figure out these creative ways of just squeezing more tax dollars out of the American people. And the reason why I started the show with this was because when we were all in bed, there were some rule changes, a lot of stuff happening in Congress right now. And they passed a foreign aid package. Yes, that's right. Over the weekend, they passed a foreign aid package. On Friday, they do these things because they are so shady, and they know that the American people are not okay with it. And what happens when you have a government that is no longer working in the best interest of the people anymore? What happens when it's the government that actually becomes the biggest threat to the people? Because that's essentially what's happening right now. We have a government that is no longer working for us, because how can these people be the great defenders of democracy? You know, I keep hearing this word democracy, democracy. How can they be the great defenders of democracy when the majority of the American people, over 70%, based off of the latest polling, do not want to send their tax dollars to foreign wars anymore? They're done with these endless, constant foreign conflicts. And over 70% of people do not want to send their money to Ukraine. And in fact, that's exactly what just happened. The United States Congress just passed a bill with several bills all wrapped up into one. But they tried some new trickery where they split it up and everybody had their own separate vote on each issue. But what they did this time, which is unprecedented, never happened before, is they split the bill up in the House just so people could vote on it separately. And then they crammed it all back together and are sending it to the Senate, where it will no doubt pass, because this is our Congress now, folks. This is it. The Congress, the United States government, the United States Congress no longer works for the American people anymore. And you want to know how I can prove it? When they passed this bill, the moment the gavel hit the counter, whatever you call it, the moment the gavel slammed down and the bill was passed, you had almost every single Democrat, and I'm sure probably Republicans as well, waving Ukrainian flags inside our Congress building. Yes, I know this is extremely frustrating. I find it absolutely disgusting that these congressmen and women would be waving in a foreign nation's flag over our American flag. When's the last time you've seen Democrats waving an American flag? This is what convinces me that Democrats really do hate America. They really do. But this was the most egregious, disgusting thing I could think I've ever seen. Really, I've ever seen in a long time. And we're talking about a lot of stuff. But it just drains all of the hope that one might have, that maybe we can just move on from the divisiveness, that we can move on from all the drama in Congress. No, we can't, because we have a political party that absolutely hates this country. And when you have a political party that waves a foreign nation's flag inside our Congress, inside our chamber, when your own country is drowning in inflation, drowning in regulations, businesses going under, grocery prices through the roof, energy becoming too expensive for people to afford, all these things are happening to the American people. And these people have the audacity to pass another $100 billion to foreign wars. This situation is unsustainable, and just to put salt in the wound, they wave a foreign nation's flag inside our chambers. So after sending, I don't know, we're going to talk about it here in a second, after sending billions of billions, I think it's up to close to $200 billion now sent to Ukraine, a foreign country, to secure its borders, to hold up its infrastructure, you wave that nation's flag inside our Congress for the entire world to see? Like I am just so freaking pissed off, man. It is so demoralizing to see our congressmen, the people that we hire to go there to represent us, to pass laws, to help us, to put us first. The American people are dead last. And this is what the American people are tired of. But the waving of the Ukraine flag, man, this just puts it over the top. And I actually have some audio here of Corey Mills, who was also frustrated with this. And I have to say, I don't blame him. So here is some audio of Corey Mills inside Congress today after Democrats were waving the Ukrainian flag once this bill passed. Here, check this out.
Hey, everyone. Congressman Corey Mills, Florida 7th District. I'm sure you're all as disgusted as I am with witnessing the flying of the Ukrainian flags on the U.S. Congressional Chamber. I want to be clear that the only flag that should ever be flown in our Congress, on our floor, in our chamber, should be the American flag. You know, I wish that so many of them who supported the Ukrainian funding for their border and for their country cared as much about America to fly proudly the American flag when we vote on border security like H.R. 2. It is a sad day in Congress.
Yep.
It is a sad day in America when people proudly fly the flag of a foreign nation in our United States chamber.
Sad.
I am disgusted by this.
Yep.
And the fact that the Sergeant at Arms and others did not ensure the decorum, I think, is one of those things that needs to be followed up on. I will continue to fight for the American people. I will continue to fight for the Angel families. I will continue to look at what is best to prioritize America, Americans, and American interest. The firm won today. And we need more constitutionalists and more fighters here in D.C. Stand with us, America. For those of us who are fighting for you, may God bless you. May God bless the free state of Florida. And may God bless this United States. Have a blessed weekend.
That's it. That's it. Absolutely disgusting. When's the last time you seen Democrats waving an American flag inside Congress? This is, I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an open border that is flooding this country. The Biden administration and Democrats, Mayorkas. Mind you, Mayorkas, who was impeached, and Democrats in the Senate refused to bring the articles of impeachment to the floor. They essentially waved off a congressional impeachment, a legitimate process. They just took the impeachment clause of our Constitution and threw it in the trash. It's never been done before. We've never had a Senate throw articles of impeachment into the trash and won't hear it. Could you imagine if Republicans, when Nancy Pelosi brought up articles of impeachment on Donald Trump, if Republicans in the Senate just threw it in the trash? We've never had a political party like this, ever. What you're watching right now is the separation of the machine, the system, versus the American people. You're starting to see the battle lines drawn, folks. This is what is happening. The machine and the system have been exposed. They've been exposed by Donald Trump. They've been exposed by independent media. And everybody can see it. And these people are terrified of losing power. They are terrified for the American people to actually have power and control over the destiny of their country. They run this stuff. They have the keys to the castle, and they're not going to give them back easy. And this funding bill is a slap in the face to Americans. And we're going to go over it. There is all kinds of nasty, nasty stuff in this bill. As always, I don't know what Mike Johnson is thinking. I have no idea. This man seems to have sold his soul to the devil himself. You got Democrats waving Ukrainian flags in our Congress, you idiot. You idiot. These people are not built for this, folks. These Republicans have to go. They are weak, feckless cowards. They must go. The American people must vote Mike Johnson out of office. The American people must vote people like Tom Cotton, Chuck Schumer. Vote these people out of there. The path that these people have put this country on is unsustainable. And we're seeing it every single day. The audacity of these people to send $100 billion to a foreign country, wave the flag of that country in our Congress, in our chambers, while the American people are stuck suffering, while the American people are drowning in open borders, high inflation, insane grocery prices, insane energy prices, low wages, crime, drugs. I mean, it's insane. And these people send money to another freaking country for a war? Another endless war. To pay the light bill for the military-industrial complex? Eisenhower warned us about this And in fact, I actually have a video that I'm going to post on my social media of the farewell speech Eisenhower gave back in 1961, where he was warning the American people about the military-industrial complex, and that if the American people did not keep an eye on this, that the military-industrial complex and everything that comes with it was going to rule this country and was going to run it into the ground. And that's exactly what we're watching right now. This Frankenstein fourth branch of government that has been created by the military-industrial complex, globalist elites, and the corporations are running this country over a cliff. And when it's all burnt down to ashes and there's nothing left, these people will get on their private jets and they'll go to a private island somewhere, leaving the rest of us to fix it. So, just like I said in the beginning of the show, I don't mind paying taxes when I actually see my tax money going towards the stuff taxes should go towards. There is absolutely no friggin' way the American taxpayer should be sending another $100 billion to foreign conflicts. It's insane. And what the crazy thing is there's no plan for the Russia-Ukraine war. This is literally, and I hate using that word, that is literally an endless war. They have no plan to end this war. Nobody in Congress or nobody in the executive branch, Joe Biden, is not talking peace. Nobody's saying even the words peace. This is literally an endless war that they plan on funding forever. Another Afghanistan, another Iraq, another 20-year war that they're doing right in your face, and then waving those countries' flags inside the halls of our Congress. It is disgusting. And I want to get into the rest of the bill, because there's some other stuff in here that's so dumb. This is such a bad bill. This may be the worst thing I have ever seen come out of the Republican Party, and that is saying a lot. Mike Johnson will go down in history as the worst Speaker of the House in U.S. history, and that's saying a lot too. I'm dead serious about this. I'm not just saying it because I'm pissed off. I am dead serious. Mike Johnson had every single opportunity to become a legend as Speaker in the House. But he turned out to be just another cop-out, another McCarthy, another just washout that sold his soul to the military-industrial complex and the system, while his constituents drowned in debt that these people have put this country in for the last 50 years. So let's go over this bill. So let's get into this. This is from Politico. House passes $60.8 billion in delayed Ukraine aid. So they're getting another $60 billion. So out of $95 billion, they're getting $60 billion. Have any of these people even bothered to show the American people there's some receipts about where their money's going? This is where me and Mark Levin do not agree whatsoever. This guy is perfectly fine with all this happening with the Ukraine aid. In fact, he actually is part of the swamp by pushing it. This is where we don't agree, and I don't agree with everything. I don't agree on everything with Mark, but I certainly don't agree just sending endless piles of cash to the military-industrial complex and then having people like Mark and the other Republicans in the swamp saying, yeah, but it's going to, it's going to businesses and corporations here in the United States. Okay, Mark, it's a good thing that not all Americans don't work at Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. This is what I don't get. So yeah, it's perfectly great for Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman and all the employees that they have, but what about the rest of the people that got to pay for this? And these, you know what? I wouldn't even mind spending the money and giving it to the military-industrial complex if it was actually for weapons for this country. But no, they're making the weapons here. We're giving all this money to Lockheed Martin and Boeing and all these other, corporations, these huge conglomerates. They get the money and then they build the weapons so that they can send them to another country. This whole notion that Russia and Vladimir Putin is going to be the next Adolf Hitler and roll through Europe. These people can't even beat Ukraine. And we're to believe that he's just going to roll through Europe and take over the whole world? This is stupid. This is so stupid. And starting tomorrow morning on Sunday, because we're recording this on Saturday night, you're going to start hearing them try and push out this narrative, this talking point that Mike Johnson is the next coming Winston Churchill. Ladies and gentlemen, Winston Churchill would be vomiting in his mouth if he's seen the destruction that these Republicans and Democrats, that these congressmen and women, that this government is causing this country. Winston Churchill would be calling for a revolution against the American military-industrial complex. The framers of this country would be calling for a revolt. These people, this swampy establishment, fourth branch of government has become the biggest threat to the American people because our debt, our financial situation has now become the greatest national security threat to the American people. These people are bankrupting us. Bankrupting us. So the House approved tens of billions of dollars in long-stalled aid to Ukraine on Saturday in a move that could further stoke a push to remove Speaker Mike Johnson. The lower chamber passed the measure in a 311 to 112 vote with one member voting present, overriding staunch conservative opposition to the funding. The Biden administration has stressed that without the assistance, Ukraine could lose in its defense against Russia by the end of the year. Are we honestly trying to convince the American people that Ukraine is going to defeat Russia? Ladies and gentlemen, they're running out of bodies. Okay? They are running out of soldiers. The average age is like 40 now. The blood of the Ukrainians, the blood of all these young soldiers is on the hands of the Republicans, is on the hands of the Democrats waving the Ukrainian flag in Congress, is on the hands of all the staunch Republicans that are just seething at the mouth, drooling for more aid to go to Ukraine because they think Vladimir Putin is going to take over the world. I'm sorry, folks. Ukraine is not going to win this war. And nobody's talking peace. There's no diplomacy whatsoever. Maybe they should try that avenue. Just saying. Maybe the American government, maybe the Biden administration, and even Mark Levin could maybe start talking about peace. And it's not just Mark. I'm not picking on Mark. It's just I was listening to a show today, and it's, this is the one thing I just don't agree with them on, man. No, I don't think we should just fund Ukraine endlessly until the end of time because we think Vladimir Putin is going to roll all through Europe and take over the world. All right, I don't see that as a very good strategy. Maybe we should be talking peace and diplomacy, or at the very least, why don't we come up with a plan? Like, okay, we're going to give this money to Ukraine, and that if this doesn't work, then it's done. Ukraine is going to have to give up a piece of its land, or whatever it is. I want to start hearing the word surrender, okay? How much money and how much Ukrainian blood needs to be spilt before Ukraine surrenders? They've already said they're never surrendering, so that means they're going to feed these young men into the meat grinder until there's no Ukrainians left. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of men dead. An entire generation wiped off the earth. It's going to take 200 years for the population of Ukraine to regenerate. Ukraine is not going to defeat Russia, ladies and gentlemen. I don't understand where this notion came from that Ukraine was going to defeat Russia. What is this? This is insanity. What, are they just going to fund Ukraine and send the boys to the meat grinder to the end of time? Because Russia can certainly do it. You're talking about a country that is 10 times bigger, has 10 times more soldiers, 10 times the GDP, 10 times the weaponry. They can go on indefinitely. And so what's going to happen is a year from now, they're going to be asking the American taxpayer for another $100 billion. And the American taxpayer is going to say, please, no, we're drowning out here. And they're going to be like, oh, too late. Sorry, we already passed it. Sorry. This is how it feels, man. It's like the American people have no say-so in how their government's being ran anymore and how their country's being run. So the bill would provide $60.8 billion for Ukraine, more than $23 billion of which would be used to replenish weapons and stocks provided by the U.S. The measure also includes $13.8 billion for advanced weapon systems and $10 billion in repayable economic assistance that likely won't be repaid. So $23 billion, which will replenish weapons. So what about the rest of that $60 billion? Where is the rest of this money? Tell the American people where the money's going. That's what you can do. Tell the American people where their money's going. This isn't the government's money. This isn't Joe Biden's personal bank account. This isn't Mitch McConnell's. This is the American taxpayers' money. Tell them where it's going. Show them. I told you, the American people would feel a lot better if you just showed them what their money is going towards. Don't give them no BS. Don't say, oh, it's just going to weapons replenishment, and then not tell them where the other $40 billion's going. This is sick, and I'm telling you right now, mark my words, mark the date. It is 4:20 at 9 p.m. One day they're going to do an investigation on where this money went, and I'm telling you right now, we're going to find out that it went into the pockets of the oligarchy. This country was, before this war, the most corrupt country on the face of the planet. Okay? Other than maybe China and Russia. But we're talking major corruption. This was the politicians' piggy bank. You guys remember Joe Biden? Ukraine was the main party town for corrupt politicians like Joe Biden. This is how they laundered all their money. You guys remember that movie War Dogs, I think it's called? Yeah, they did their corrupt business in Ukraine for a reason. Joe Biden and his son does business in Ukraine for a reason. It's because it's corrupt. Of course, billions and billions of American taxpayer money is going towards the oligarchy there. Of course, it's going towards corrupt politicians there. With no end in sight, to sit there and tell them that there's not even a plan for peace, to not even mention the word surrender. There's going to be a surrender, folks. There has to be. This war can't go on forever. Because of Joe Biden. All right, this is what I want to get at. All of this is on Joe Biden's watch. All of this is to blame on Joe Biden for greenlighting this freaking invasion in the first place, instead of talking peace and diplomacy. And what did we expect? When you got a guy that's been wrong on every single foreign policy his entire freaking career. And that is the quote, almost verbatim, from Robert Gates, Obama's former Secretary of Defense. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer locked in a deal Saturday for teeing up the House passed foreign aid package, paving the way for the initial upper chamber vote Tuesday. The Senate that adjourned until Tuesday morning. Quote, the Senate now stands ready to take the next step, Schumer said in a Saturday statement. A few moments ago, Democrats and Republicans locked in an agreement enabling the Senate to finish work on a supplemental with a first vote on Tuesday afternoon. And there is a little smirk from Mike Johnson, who they are now going to be calling the next Winston Churchill. And then every single one of these Congress people, all of these people, they leave this place with full benefits, with full pensions for the rest of their life. Most of them come out millionaires, write a memoir, get book deals, while the American people suffer in squalor because of their actions. This isn't Donald Trump's fault. Okay, you want to put something on Donald Trump? Okay, let's give Donald Trump $2 trillion in debt. You still got $34 trillion of debt that these people put on the books. So go ahead. For the people out there that want to blame Donald Trump, you're going to have to explain the other $34 trillion in debt that came from these people right here. So the House passes Israel cash, sending full foreign aid package to the Senate. The last bill in Speaker Mike Johnson's four-part foreign aid package sends $26.3 billion in assistance to Israel 6 months after the Hamas attack. The House passed a bill to provide $26.3 billion in assistance to Israel, kicking the legislation across the Capitol nearly 10 weeks after the Senate sent over a measure with nearly identical aid to the U.S. ally. Why couldn't Mike Johnson get something for the border? Why couldn't this guy get any friggin' wins for the American people? I'll tell you one thing right now. Mike Johnson better have a smooth ace up his sleeves for this one. If this guy does not have an ace up his sleeves as to a reason why he would just let Democrats run the House majority that Republicans clearly own. We voted Republicans as the majority of the House. Why is it Democrats' bills getting passed? The American people can't get a secure border. They can't get relief on energy. They can't get relief on groceries. They can't get relief on inflation. They can't get relief on anything. Nothing. The crime is insane. Drug overdose is insane. They can't get any wins, Mike Johnson? You better have something up your sleeve. I'm telling you right now, because you're going to lose everything, man. You're going to lose your seat because people are going to watch this and they're going to say, what the hell good is somebody being a Republican if all they're going to do is just be controlled opposition all the time? This is what the American people are saying. I'm telling you, I'm hearing it all over the place. People are not voting for the Republican Party. They're voting for Donald Trump. Why? Because Donald Trump speaks for the American people. Certainly the majority. You don't get 130 million votes for no reason. So because House Republican division over assisting Ukraine has snagged aid to Israel, it has taken Congress more than 6 months to move ahead on the aid following Hamas attack on October 7th that killed 1,200 people. Honestly, I think Israel's doing just fine. I mean, these people are steamrolling the opposition. They're steamrolling Hamas. And so, I guess, yeah, give them aid so that they can finish this out. But my whole thing is why can't they take money from other stuff? Like the 87,000 IRS agents that are going to be harassing the American people. Like, can't you maybe have 40,000 and take that money and give to Israel? Like, why can't there be any cuts on anything? You know how many stupid programs there are, government programs, mandatory spending programs that never go away? Essentially, they are failed businesses that constantly get propped up by the American taxpayer. So imagine that. That's the good thing about a government business is that it can never fail. Unlike all the other businesses in a free market that if they suck, they go under, they go out of business, but not a government business, not a government program. These people are spending us and our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren into oblivion. There's not going to be anything left. But this is what really pisses me off. You ready for this? The House passed a measure Saturday that aims to force a sale of TikTok and seize frozen Russian assets to pay for Ukrainians' reconstruction. Whoa, we're paying for reconstruction now? What? So we have to rebuild Ukraine? How much money is this going to cost? I told you. You guys remember about 6 months ago. The very moment that last bill was passed, I said the American taxpayer is going to be on the hook for rebuilding the entire nation of Ukraine. And I think this was Zelensky's plan when he got elected. I think he promised the American people in his own little way, he says, I'm going to make this nation great, and I'm going to have the American taxpayer pay for it. All we have to do is just sacrifice some blood of our innocent Ukrainians. And that's exactly what's happening. They've got almost $200 billion in taxpayer money. And then to seize frozen Russian assets to pay for Ukrainians' reconstruction. So you're seizing the money from Russia, which when other countries, especially the nations that are enrolled in the BRICS program, which is BRICS, I think we did a show about it, is essentially it's an entire different currency. It's a way for all these countries to get off the U.S. dollar. And when these countries see that the United States stole the money from Russia and gave it to Ukraine, they're going to pull all of their money, all of their American currency. They're not going to want anything to do with the American dollar, not after seeing that the United States can seize their money and give it to their enemies. So you're going to watch the collapse of the American dollar. This is what Republicans are doing. Yes, the Republicans that you voted in the office most likely. And there is a whole lot of them. There's a lot more than there should be. I know that. So as well as impose sanctions and other punitive measures against Russia, China, and Iran. So Joe Biden, the Biden administration, has managed to align Russia, China, and Iran. I can't think of anything more dangerous than these three countries all joining forces with one another. And what do we get? NATO? None of these militaries even pay for their own stuff. We pay for it. So what happens when the United States is the enemy of Russia, China, and Iran? Nothing good. The bill filled with GOP policy sweeteners was included in Speaker Mike Johnson's foreign aid funding package as a way to bolster Republican support for the tens of billions of dollars in long-delayed aid for Ukraine, Israel, and the Indo-Pacific. The House approved the measure in an overwhelming 360 to 58 vote. Yeah, what are those sweeteners? What, banning TikTok? These people are so dumb. TikTok is a conservative outlet. Folks, I'm telling you, there is way more conservatives and let's go branding content creators on TikTok than there are leftist liberals. TikTok was a way for conservatives to get their voice out there, and Republicans just cut off their own arm. These idiots, these people are so dumb, man. We have to stop sending morons like the Republicans we have in the House right now. Who does this to their own country, to their own party? Seriously. You're going to ban TikTok? Like that's what people can take to the polls? Like, oh yeah, I'm going to vote Republican down ballot. What have they done for me? Oh, they banned TikTok. They banned my account where I had, 50,000 followers and I was actually making a little bit of money. The Republicans banned that. It's like, what? I don't care about China maybe spying on you. Our own damn government spies on us, folks. I'll tell you one thing right now, and to be completely honest, I fear the United States intel agencies and the United States government more than I fear China. How about that? Our government, this Congress, and this intel agency, and these intel agencies are a bigger threat to the American people than China. How about them apples? Because it's true. I'm not worried about China coming to my house and raiding my home. I'm not worried about China censoring me and trying to lock me up for protesting abortion. Nuh-uh. That's the American government doing that. I don't see China spending the American taxpayer into oblivion. I'm not an advocate for China. What I'm trying to say is Republicans prioritize the most dumbest thing I could ever possibly think of. Banning TikTok? That's a win for conservatives? Conservatives own TikTok, dude. There's more conservative content on TikTok than there is liberal content. It is a freaking Donald Trump rally on TikTok. And these people just banned it. What a bunch of morons. Representative Thomas Massey said conservatives would, quote, probably not start the clock on Saturday on a vote to oust Mike Johnson from the speakership. Maybe, he added, as he got into an elevator in the Capitol, less than an hour before the House to set the vote on foreign aid bills. He's got to go. I really didn't know how I felt about Marjorie Taylor Greene introducing the rules to vacate the Mike Johnson as speaker. But that was before this bill passed. Now, Mike Johnson's got to go. Folks, if all he's going to do is just pass these disgusting bills and have Democrats wave Ukrainian flags in our House chambers, he's got to go. What is the point? I just don't get it. Yes, Hakeem Jeffries would be way worse than Mike Johnson, but it's not going to happen, folks. Hakeem Jeffries is never going to be the Speaker of the House, period. That is nothing but Republicans trying to fearmonger other Republicans from ousting Mike Johnson because Mike Johnson is on a roll at giving Democrats and the Washington establishment everything they want. I'm sorry, this guy may be a nice dude. I don't know him. But he is one hell of a coward, man. One hell of a coward. The Republicans made a big mistake with Mike Johnson. And I'm not saying they should have kept Kevin McCarthy, because things would have been just as bad. They're both on the same path. Mike Johnson's lying to Republicans and his constituents. Kevin McCarthy lied to the Republicans and to his constituents. And so they're both one and the same. Get rid of them both. And we'll go through this process over and over and over again until the American people get a Speaker of the House that actually has the interest of the American taxpayer at heart. Period. All the American people want is to be put first. That's it. Why doesn't our Congress secure our borders first before securing another country's? Why not aid your own country? The Kentucky Republican is one of 3 hardliners who have endorsed a push to boot Johnson, but the timing of when they will try to force a vote is unclear. Once they trigger it, the GOP leader would need help from Democrats if he wants to keep the gavel. So this guy's going to need Democrats to keep him in the speakership. Could you imagine this guy begging Democrats for votes to remain speaker? And I'll be honest with you, I don't think Democrats would do it. Democrats are so much smarter than Republicans, man. I mean, they run circles around Republicans. They got a strategy for everything. You notice no Democrats ever step out of line. They're like a bunch of Borg. They are robots. The hive mind, the Democrat hive mind. This is like, they're totalitarians. This is what happens in totalitarian regimes, and I'm sorry, folks, but Republicans are going right there with it, with the totalitarianism. Sending the American people to their slaughter. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries sidestepped Saturday on whether his caucus would land a hand if an ouster vote happened, saying, quote, "We're working right now to get the national security legislation over the finish line." National security? That's what they're calling this, national security? These people have become the American people's number one threat. They're spending this country into oblivion. The American people are drowning, and it's all because of them. Russia's not a threat to the American people. China's not a threat right now to the American people. It's these people. Chuck Schumer, Mike Johnson, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi. All these congressmen and women, these corrupt, evil politicians are the people's biggest threat now. Sorry. That's it. The American people are suffering not because of Russia. The American people are suffering not because of China. The American people are suffering because of Democrats and Republicans in Congress. Period. So Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said there is a tentative agreement to hold a vote to advance a foreign aid bill in his chamber on Tuesday, assuming it clears the House Saturday as expected. Okay, this is just going in. And so that's what you get. You get Republicans finally get a bill passed. They finally get, I don't know. And then it's all it does is it just boosts Democrats and gives Joe Biden a win. Now Joe Biden is going to go out there on the stump and he's going to vomit out of his mouth that he got Ukraine and foreign aid passed, and so you should vote for him some more. I'm sorry, it's not a good message to run on, but he certainly will call this a win. And so did Mike Johnson really just bail out Democrats? Did Mike Johnson really just bail out the Biden administration and Biden's campaign? This literally bails out Joe Biden because now he has something to run on. Now he can go out there and claim that this is a win for the American people. I don't think the American people will buy it, but Joe Biden will certainly try and push it. This guy is a habitual liar. Of course he's going to push it. He's going to say that he wheeled the pallets of cash to Zelensky himself. Like he dropped the pallets out of the plane himself. He pulled the lever. That's what Joe Biden's going to go out and say. I'm just joking. They don't do it in cash anymore. It's all digital. But the biggest thing is like, where the hell is the money going? Like, I think they would be a lot better off just showing the American people where their money's going. Just like I like to see my tax dollars going towards gym equipment, going towards new roads and infrastructure and new bridges, and the cool little hazard signs that say, caution, your tax dollars at work, right ahead, please slow down. Like, I like seeing that stuff. And this Congress, this government would be a lot better showing the American people where their money's going. But they can't do that. Why? Because they know their money's going towards corruption. Period. They can't. And also a part of this aid package is more money for Gaza. So imagine that. More money to Hamas so that they have funding to fight against Israel. So the United States is essentially funding both sides of the Israel-Hamas war. The United States is funding essentially both sides of the Russia-Ukraine war. And because the United States is funding both sides of the Israel-Hamas war by giving money to Gaza, which Hamas then steals and turns into weapons and more tunnels and bombs and rockets, Iran then helps Russia. The United States is sending money to Gaza. That money essentially goes to Iran. Iran is teamed up with Russia. Russia is fighting Ukraine. We're funding Ukraine. Iran gives that money to Hamas, which attacks Israel. We fund Israel. It's all one gigantic, swampy, money-filled pit. We're paying for all of this. The American taxpayer is funding this massive war. The American taxpayer is funding their own destruction. The American taxpayer is funding another World War III. And Mike Johnson can't see it. These hundreds of Republicans that voted for these bills can't see it. And I hate to even see what is in the actual depth of this bill when we actually get it. It is going to be probably some of the most disgusting stuff we've ever seen. I'm going to wait. Once I hear more about what's in this bill, I'll get back on here. We'll talk about it some more. This is a huge deal, folks, because this is 7 months into the election. We're 7 months from the election, or 7 or 8 months around, give or take. And the Republicans are not getting any wins for their constituents. Who the hell is going to go to the voting booth and say, yeah, I'm going to vote Republican down ballot? Nobody. Why would you? Why would you? In fact, if you're somebody that actually votes for winners, you would vote Democrat. Like, if you want to vote and get some wins, the American people got to be looking at this and be like, well, hell, at least Democrats actually win. I'm going to vote Democrat. Like, this is what these people, they're so dumb. And then you ban TikTok. You're trying to ban TikTok. What a bunch of morons. The only thing I could tell people is that you have to get active in these elections. Our constitutional republic now depends on the American people getting involved in their government, getting involved in the process. The days are gone where the American people can just kick back, put their feet up, and just expect these people to have our best interests. It is not like that anymore. This country is on a one-way path off a cliff because of who we put in office. Just like Thomas Sowell said, the people that are in politics are exactly the wrong people in politics. And the people that aren't in politics are the exact right people that should be in politics. But they're not. This is what we have. We need more fighters in Congress. We need to get these swamp creatures out of there, man. And I'm sorry, but as far as I'm concerned, Mike Johnson's one of them too. He can say whatever he wants. They're going to praise him as the next coming Winston Churchill. I got news for him. Mike Johnson is no Winston Churchill. Okay, I don't even know why they're comparing this to World War II. Okay, this is not World War II, all right? You have Vladimir Putin trying to take some land from Ukraine. All right, this is not World War II. Russia's not going to try and take over the entire world like Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. All right, I'm sorry. I'm so sick of these people comparing Russia and the Russia-Ukraine war to World War II. These people are idiots. They are frauds. All of them should be fired. Every single person that voted for these bills should be fired in 7 months. I don't care anymore, man. I don't care. I'm so sick of these people. I'm so sick of these politicians, man. They get all the benefits, and we get all the negative side effects from them getting their benefits. They get to go in, they get nice fat book deals, they come out millionaires, they get pensions for the rest of their life and a board seat at Boeing and Raytheon, they get to keep their security clearance, and then while the American people have to suffer in squalor and misery and eat the scraps off the floor, while other countries are getting our money. Illegal immigrants coming in here, getting our money. At what point are the American taxpayer just going to stop paying taxes? How about this? Why don't every single American taxpayer, why don't we all just stop paying our taxes at once? How about that? Let's form the largest protest in U.S. history, and every single tax-paying American stop paying their taxes at once. What are they going to do? They're going to arrest all of us? We are stronger in numbers, man. And this is why these people want to keep us divided all the time. This is why they always bring up race issues and abortion issues, because if the American people were to come together, these people would be out of a job. They need the division. They need the hatred, or else they're goners. I have more faith in the American people as a collective, as a whole, than I ever would 400 politicians in the House of Representatives. That's it. These people are nothing but a bunch of frauds, man. They lie their way to get in they're politicians. It's always been this way. A politician is nothing but a good liar. Look at Joe Biden. You want to know what it takes to be a good politician? Look at Joe Biden. All you have to do is just lie, mislead, gaslight, misrepresent, pull on the heartstrings, and lie some more. And that's what you get. What has Joe Biden accomplished in 50 years? Nothing. What has he contributed to this country? Nothing. But somehow Joe Biden's worth tens of millions of dollars. And I'm here like a sucker, going to work every day, paying my taxes, living paycheck to paycheck like the rest of us. Everybody's going through the same crap, man. These people are making it harder and harder for the American people to live while they're living in luxury. The class divide has never been bigger. It's exactly the type of stuff that happens in totalitarian regimes. We are walking our way into totalitarianism with this freakish fourth branch of government that's been created. The military-industrial complex, the globalist elites, and the corporations. I mean, there is so much corruption in our nation's capital. It is enough to make people sick. When you read into the money that flows in and out of that place, all the tricks, all the cash that people are coming out just with fistfuls of cash, like, it is enough to make people sick. I mean, it's one of the bad parts about, having a podcast and reading about all this stuff, is once you really figure out how broken the system is, it's like you wish you never knew. It's like being in the Matrix. It's like the guy eating the steak. It's almost like ignorance is bliss. It's like you almost wish you never knew, because then you wouldn't know. But people are now starting to pay attention because this is how bad things have become. Because this government, these politicians have ruined this place. They've destroyed it. And then we're going to be left picking up the pieces. So, I know it was kind of a depressing show. I promise I'll make it up on the next one. I actually got a lot of stuff I needed to get into. I just wanted to vent on this frickin' bill, man. It's so crappy. It's not a thing it's not a show I want to do. But the American people, you guys, my listeners, you need to know this stuff. I mean, you got to know what's in this bill, and maybe I'll get into some more detail when some more details about this bill come out, but it's certainly not looking good. The Washington Post is celebrating. Democrats are celebrating, waving Ukrainian flags inside our House chambers. So sick, man. So sick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk to you guys here in a little bit. If you want to support the show, please download the podcast on all podcast platforms. Share the show with your friends and family, and follow the show on Rumble. And if you want to get a hold of me directly, get a hold of me at StevenTaurielloShow@gmail.com. And I will talk to you guys here in a little bit. God bless you, and God bless America. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.